Flames crackled. Women screamed. They came without charms, without chants, without banners, 6 of them, wrapped in dull gray cloth, no metal, no beads, no spirit markings. Akin felt nothing. That was the problem. The first blade entered Oyadili's shoulder before Akin even turned. Steel flashed, but the air did not move. No pressure, no disturbance. Akin tried to summon wind. Nothing answered. One assassin whispered calmly, "Don't use what eats what you are fighting." They moved like folded shadows. Short blades, precise cuts, no wasted motion. Akin blocked with his forearm. The blade shattered, not because of force, because the edge dissolved. The assassin stared, confused. Akin grabbed his throat, and something drained. The man collapsed like an empty cloth. No blood, no wounds. Just gone. Akin staggered backward, horrified. "I didn't summon anything," he whispered. Oyadili killed 2. Bare hands. Brutal. Messy. The last assassin knelt. Calm, smiling. "You are already feeding." He bit down. Foam. Death. Somni did not let him sleep. "You must know who hunts you now," she said. She burned bitter herbs. The smoke turned black. Formed images. A hidden order. Older than kingdoms. Older than the war gods. The veiled mouth. Their purpose. When gods grow weak, when worlds thin, they harvest breaches. They harvest beings who can consume divine structures. Akin's chest tightened. "They don't kill us," Sanmi whispered. "They turn us into keys." Oyadili slammed his fist into the wall. "So they will cage him?" Sanmi shook her head slowly. "No, they will open him." The smoke shifted. A circle of robed figures. A massive black structure. Not a gate, not a shrine. A wound in reality. They rode before dawn, but the ambush was already waiting. A single man stood in the road. Tall, bald, skin marked with stitched symbols. He smiled at Akin. Prototype. Oyadili charged first. Spear. Full force. The man raised one finger. The spear rotted in mid-air, collapsed into dust. Oyadili was thrown backward. Hard. Bones cracked. Akin moved. Vanished. Reappeared behind him. Struck. The man did not flinch. "You don't control it yet." He pressed his palm to Oyadili's chest. Akin felt it. A vacuum. A collapse. Oyadili's heartbeat stuttered, then slowed, then began to fold. Akin screamed, not with wind, with something else. The space around the man warped. Like heat, like tearing cloth, the man's arm disintegrated. Not burned, unwritten. He laughed through pain. "Yes." Akin slammed both hands into his chest. The man folded inward, vanished. Oyadil collapsed, barely breathing. Akin knelt, shaking. "I can't stop it." That night, the wind finally came, soft, slow, familiar. Akin sat alone. "Oya?" he whispered. The air shaped itself. Not fully, just an outline, a memory of her. "You were never meant to carry me forever," her fading voice said. Tears slid down Akin's face. "You knew," she nodded. "That thing inside you was already tearing open the world when you were born. Why save me?" Akin asked. Oya smiled sadly. "Because even ruin deserves a choice." The wind dimmed. "But the choice will not be between good and evil," she whispered. "It will be between silence and balance." The veiled mouth moved their structure. A floating ruin, held aloft by inverted storm pillars. an ancient sky city, once Oya's sanctuary, now a harvesting engine. Akin stood at the edge of a cliff, staring. Oyadili limped beside him, armor cracked, face thinner. "So," he muttered, "that's where they turn you into a door." Akin laughed weakly. "Seems dramatic. Inside the city, hundreds of sealed children, some glowing, some burning, some vibrating like unstable stars, all breaches, all waiting." Akin's knees weakened. "I'm not the only one." Oyadili's jaw tightened. No, the assault was not glorious. It was surgical, brutal, panicked, windshields, falling platforms, spirit cannons, disappearing corridors. Oyadili cut through wardens, spinning blade, broken spear, blood everywhere. Akin phased through walls, not by moving, by removing space. Power collapsed around him. Charms died, gates failed, God tech shut down. Inside the core chamber, the black structure waited. It pulsed, slow, hungry. The leaders of the veiled mouth stood in a circle, calm, expectant. "You arrived sooner than projected." Akin's voice trembled. "You built this with children." One of them bowed. "We built this with necessity." The children screamed. Not in pain, in resonance. The structure unfolded. Petal by petal, layer by layer. Reality thinned. The leaders raised their hands. "Open yourself." Akin fell to his knees. Not forced, pulled. He felt it. The breach inside him aligning, stretching, preparing. Oyadili shouted his name, charging, too slow. Akin saw another place, another sky, another stormless world, and something vast, waiting. He understood then. If he opened fully, the world would survive, the gods would stabilize. Storms would stop collapsing reality, but the breach would belong to something else, something patient, something endless. Akin screamed, "No one owns me." He turned inward, not outward. He wrapped the breach around itself, compressed it, folded it. Not sealed, rewritten. The structure shrieked, tore itself apart. The leaders vanished into collapsing space. The sky city began to fall. They escaped on broken wind platforms. Barely, the sky city shattered behind them, like glass, like memory. Akin collapsed in the grass, breathing shallow, eyes dim. Oyadili knelt beside him, hands shaking. "You still here?" Akin smiled weakly. Unfortunately, the wind moved again, but differently, gentler, thinner. Oyadili frowned. "You feel smaller?" Akin nodded. "I burned most of it. What are you now?" Akin stared at the sky. Not a god, not a breach, not a storm. He exhaled. A normal breath. Just a wall between things that shouldn't touch. Far away, deep under untouched soil, the ground pulsed once. Not violently, as if answering. Akin was once a boy. Now he was a force of nature. A living, breathing storm that walked among mortals, and the world was right to fear him. The skies would darken at his approach, not with clouds, but with a palpable dread. The very air grew thin, charged with a power that suffocated hope. Oyadili watched him, her heart a tangled knot of love and terror. The man she knew was still in there, trapped behind the tempest in his eyes. But with every passing day, the storm grew stronger, and the man she loved faded further into the shadow. She remembered the early days when his power was just a spark, a crackle of static in the air, a flicker of light in the corner of her eye. It had been exciting, a secret shared between them. He could summon a breeze to cool them on a hot day, or make a candle flame dance to the rhythm of their laughter. But the spark had grown into a flame, the flame into a wildfire. Now his power was a hurricane, and he was at its unforgiving center. One morning she found him standing by the river, his hands clenched into fists. The water, once calm and serene, was churning violently, great waves crashing against the banks, tearing away earth and stone. The trees along the shore bent and groaned as if in a gale, though not a single leaf on the hills beyond stirred. He wasn't doing it on purpose. She knew that. The storm was simply happening. It was a part of him now, an extension of his being that he could no longer command. He turned to her, and for a fleeting moment she saw the boy again. His eyes were wide with panic, pleading for help, for an anchor in the maelstrom that was his own soul. "I can't stop it, Oyadil," he whispered, his voice barely audible, over the roaring river. "It's getting stronger. It wants more." The ground beneath their feet trembled. Cracks began to spiderweb across the dry earth, not from an earthquake, but from the raw, untamed energy pouring out of him. The world itself seemed to groan under the strain of his existence. Oyadili rushed to his side, ignoring the stinging wind that whipped her hair across her face. She placed her hand on his chest. It was like touching a live wire. The power pulsed against her palm, a monstrous heartbeat thrumming just beneath his skin. The fear was a constant companion now. It wasn't just the fear of what he could do to the world, but what the power was doing to him. He barely slept. When he did, the nightmares were apocalyptic. He would wake up screaming, the room around them a wreck of splintered furniture and shattered pottery, the very walls scorched by phantom lightning. He was wasting away, the power devouring him from the inside out, feeding on his strength, his spirit, his very identity. Oyadili had to do something. She couldn't stand by and watch the storm consume him entirely. Whispers and rumors had led them to this point, to a desolate, windswept plateau at the edge of the world. They were searching for a legend, a final, desperate hope. The blind seer, Eolode Sanmi. They said she could see not with her eyes, but with the world's memory, that she could read the truths hidden in the wind and the earth. They found her in a cave carved into the heart of a stone monolith, a place that felt older than time itself. The air inside was still and heavy, thick with the scent of strange herbs and ancient dust. Eolode Sanmi sat on a simple mat, her back to the entrance. She was a frail figure, her skin a road map of wrinkles, her eyes covered by a simple strip of dark cloth. She didn't turn as they entered, yet it felt as if she had been watching them approach for miles. "The storm has a name," she said, her voice a dry rustle of leaves. "Akin." It wasn't a question. Akin flinched, the power within him stirring like a roused beast. The small flames lighting the cave sputtered and flared violently. Oyadili stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. "We need your help. His power. It's growing. We can't control it. People are afraid." "He's afraid." Eolode Sanmi was silent for a long moment. She turned her head slowly, her blindfolded gaze seeming to pierce right through them, seeing not just their faces, but the chaos swirling around Akin. "You come to me seeking to tame a storm," she rasped. "You ask the wrong question. You fight the wrong enemy." Akin took a hesitant step closer. "What do you mean?" "This power, it came from me. It is me. The seer gave a slight, sad shake of her head. No, it is not asterisk from asterisk you. It is asterisk and asterisk you. There is a difference. She gestured with a withered hand, inviting them to sit. You believe you wield the power of the sky. The wind, the rain, the lightning. You are mistaken. What you feel is not the birth of a storm. It is the echo of an ending. Oya Daly and Akin exchanged a confused glance. The old woman's words were riddles wrapped in mystery. An ending? What ending? Oya Daly pressed. Long ago, Elode Sanmi began, her voice taking on a hypnotic storytelling cadence. The world was not as it is. It was whole, seamless, but in a war between forces you cannot imagine, a wound was torn in the fabric of existence. A breach. She paused, letting the word hang in the silent cave. A breach? Like a tear? Akin asked, his fear momentarily replaced by a burning curiosity. More than a tear, the seer corrected. A tear can be mended. This was an unmaking, a spot where the rules of reality frayed. It is a place of profound and absolute hunger. It does not create. It only consumes. It is a void that craves substance, a silence that eats sound, a nothingness that devours everything. She turned her blind gaze directly toward Akin. It eats power most of all, and you, boy, you were born too close to it. The breach found you when you were just a spark of life. It latched on to you. It has been feeding through you your entire life. The truth hit them with the force of a physical blow. Oya Daly gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Akin staggered back, his mind reeling. The storms, the lightning, the uncontrollable destruction. It wasn't him. It was something else. Something ancient and ravenous, using him as a conduit, a straw through which it could drink the world's energy. So the storms, the power I feel, Akin stammered, his voice choked with dawning horror, are not yours? Elode Sanmi finished for him, her voice grim. You are not a storm god in the making. You are a siphon. The energy you feel surging through you is the world itself being pulled into the void. The destruction you leave in your wake is not an act of creation, but of erasure. The breach is hungry, Akin, and it is using you to eat. The flames in the cave died down, returning to a gentle flicker. The oppressive energy around Akin receded, replaced by a cold, hollow dread. All this time he had thought he was becoming something powerful, something terrible. The reality was so much worse. He wasn't a monster, he was a doorway for one. The hunger he felt, the insatiable need for more that grew every day, it wasn't his own. It was the primal, world-ending hunger of the breach itself, and he was its unwitting servant. The fight was not against a storm inside him, but against the endless, eating void that wore his face. And it was just getting started. Thank you for watching. If you were captivated by this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what happens next. The fate of the world hangs in the balance. Part 7. The God Hunter Stiarixi Soya screamed. Actual pain, actual terror. The charm man stood inside a binding circle. Runes glowing, God chains rising. You hide behind a child. Oya tried to move. Couldn't. Akin arrived. Too late. The God Hunter stabbed her shadow. Not her body. Her essence. She collapsed. The sky went silent. Akin dropped to his knees. Hook, END Part 7. Without Oya. The storm belongs to no one. Part 8. Hawaii Dealey's Truthia Dealey returned, not as an enemy, not as an ally, as something worse, as someone who finally knew that Cain had murdered his real parents because they carried storm blood too. Akin listened, broken. So they turned you into the weapon. Oyadili nodded. And you became the miracle. They stood side by side. For the first time, Book E and D Part 8 Brothers by Storm. Enemies by History. Part 9. War of Gods and Kayanshis, the final battlefield. Charms in the sky, spirit arrows raining, wind walls colliding, spears exploding, shields shattering. The king, the god hunter, the storm brothers. Oya awakened, barely, weak, raging. The god hunter smiled. Perfect. He wanted her fully awake. Hook E and D Part 9. Because only a living god can be killed forever. Part 10. When the storm chooses Ag and the battle tore the land open. Oyadili impaled the king. Akin shattered the god hunter's body, but his spirit rose, laughing. Oya screamed. The sky cracked completely. She made her choice. She did not save Akin. She entered him. Storm and flesh, god and boy, one body, one will. Akin's eyes became pure lightning. He spoke with two voices. This ends. The god hunter dissolved into wind, into nothing, into silence. When the storm finally settled, Akin stood alone. Oya gone. Oyadili knelt. So what are you now? Akin looked at the sky. Something new. The wind moved. Soft, gentle, not violent, not wild. The storm had changed, because its heart had changed. Final HOOK, and somewhere far away, a child was just born, with wind in their lungs.
Oh yeah, finally. Age born from confusion. WH, why does it feel like you stole MY life? Akin froze for a split second. I didn't steal anything. In that instant, the bridge gave way beneath them, collapsing into the torrent. They both fell, but only one body hit the water below. The other simply vanished into the storm.
16 years later. Two boys, two fires, Two opposite ends of the same prophecy. Akin lived among hunters. No parents. No real name, only whispers. Don't spar with him. He breaks people. Akin stood in the dirt circle, bare chest, scarred arms, quiet eyes. A bigger boy rushed him, spear first. Akin moved. Not fast, not slow, just gone. The spear hit nothing. Akin appeared behind him. Elbow, neck, knee. The boy collapsed. The ground trembled. Akin froze. The air twisted. A woman's voice brushed his ear. Not yet, storm child. Miles away, inside the war academy of Kuru, another boy trained. Perfect posture. Perfect blade, perfect anger. His name was Oya Del, but everyone called him Oya's curse, because the king had raised him for one purpose only. Find the storm boy. Kill him. Oya daily drew his sword. Its blade glowed red with bound spirits. I will bring his head. That night, Akin dreamed. A woman of wind stood before him, her eyes sad, her hands shaking. They have found you. Akin woke. The village was burning, and standing in the fire was the boy trained to kill him. The legend of Akin and Oya, a story of blood, storm, and destiny. Part 1. The night the storm chose a child. The old ones still whisper about that night. The night rain fell upward. The night thunder struck the earth and refused to leave. Deep inside the forest of Igbo Irun, a woman ran. Her name was Marankiji. In her arms was a child, barely breathing. Behind her, horses, steel, fire, and the war banner of King Jaganaro of Kuru. Stop her. A commander shouted. She carries the storm child. An arrow screamed through the darkness. Marankiji twisted her body. The arrow entered her back. She did not fall. She ran harder. She burst into an ancient clearing. At its center stood a broken shrine, a forgotten god, a stone shaped like a woman with raised hands. Marankiji collapsed. The baby slid from her arms. The wind stopped. The forest bowed, and a voice rolled through the sky. Not male, not female, not human. Bring him closer. Marankiji crawled, blood dragging behind her. She placed the child on the shrine. Lightning struck the stone. Not once, not twice, 7 times. The baby screamed. The scream became thunder. The sky split open. The statue cracked. Light poured out. A shadow stepped from inside the shrine. A woman made of wind. Eyes made of storm. Oya, the forgotten goddess of change, war, and violent winds. She lifted the baby, looked into his eyes, and smiled slowly. Your name is not what they gave you. She touched his forehead. A glowing mark formed. You shall be called Akin, born for battle, born for disruption, born to break kings. The soldiers burst into the clearing. Oya turned. The wind screamed. Trees bent flat. Men flew like dry leaves. Steel twisted. Horses shattered into the darkness. But one man remained standing, tall, calm, wrapped in black charms. His eyes did not blink. He smiled at Oya. So the rumor was true, he said. The storm still protects its toys. Oya's smile faded. Run, Marankiji. The woman crawled once more. She reached Akin, held him. Oya's wings surrounded them. The charmed man raised a bone dagger. Chanted. The wind cracked. Oya staggered. Blood, actual blood, dropped from her lips. Her eyes widened. A god hunter? He threw the dagger. Oya vanished into wind. The blade passed through empty air. But the baby screamed again. The ground split. The charm man fell to one knee. Maraukeji vanished with the child inside a wall of storm. Only one thing remained behind. A feather, black, crackling with lightning. The charm man picked it up, slowly, smiling. Run far, little storm. Run very far, because across the kingdom a boy was already being raised to hunt him